All right, I think we're gonna start. So welcome everybody to the capacity building seminar on how to go international in Eastern Africa. I'm Louise Gubanski. I'm international project manager at Ecolliance, German network focused on environmental technologies in Rhineland-Palatinate. And I also, today I represent the project EU Water for ISD that I'm going to be presenting as a next step. But first, I would like to show some information and tips about the webinar. So please first write your name and organization in the participant list so that we know who is attending the webinar. For your information, you can use a Q&A for questions to the speakers. You are muted, but so you can write down your questions and we will answer them at the end of the session. There is chat where you can write any kind of technical issues that we'll try to answer and where you can share your contact details. And very important, please note that the webinar will be recorded so that if you want to rewatch it again, or if the people who couldn't attend would like to see it, they can. It will be published on YouTube in the next days. I keep on going with the agenda. So as I said, I will present shortly the project EU Water for ISD. Then we will welcome Hanna Dittmeyer, who is head of the Competence Center at Afrika, Eastern Africa, in English, the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce for Eastern Africa, and she will shortly present the services of this, of the German Industry and Commerce Chamber. Then we'll keep on going with Christopher Kanyesigye, who is manager at the National Water and Sewerage Corporation in Uganda, and he will present the potential challenges and current water development needs in Uganda. Then I will have Tom Armstrong, CEO of the Great Rift Valley and JV Drilling, is also chairman of the Kenya Water Industry Association, and he will shows us water sector status in Kenya. I hope that it will join. He's not there yet, but there should be also Leonard Makoka, is Deputy Director for Research and Consultancy at the Kenya Water Institute, and is also supposed to present the institute in 5 minutes. And we'll finally finish with Beheshti, who is CEO of Boreal Light GmbH, which is a German company, but they are well established in Eastern Africa. And so he will share with us his experience in this area. And we'll finish, as mentioned, with a Q&A session. So I will start shortly with a presentation of the project EU Water for ISD. So EU Water for ISD stands for a very complicated name, European Water Smart Initiative for Fostering International Sustainable Development. And it aims to set up an European partnership to enable water smart solution entering the sustainable territorial development market in emerging countries. So in a more comprehensive way, it means that we support European SMEs to enter international market, and especially the Latin American and the Eastern African markets, water markets. So who are we? We have 5 European clusters in a consortium. There is Aclima from Spain, France Water Team from France, Ecolines from Germany, Korea Hydro and Energy in Czech Republic, and Green Synergy Cluster in Bulgaria. We have targeted countries. So in Eastern Africa, it is Kenya and Uganda especially, and in Latin America, Bolivia and Peru specifically. What do we do to support SMEs? We offer strategic market information. I see a message in the chat. I just want to check that everything's good. Yes. Hi, Hanna now. So we offer strategic market information. We publish monthly an information bulletin with several information on the news on the target countries, and also with public procurement alerts. And we also created international market fact sheets on the target countries. We also offer capacity building action, like the webinar you are attending today. It is one of the action, but in the future, we will also be offering specific training, mentoring, targeted coaching for companies on export issues. We also offer trade opportunities. We plan right now, we're in the planning of creating an e-marketplace so it's a digital platform where the companies will be able to present their solution to the target countries. And we will also be organizing very soon a trade mission to Bolivia and a B2B mission to Kenya that will take place in June. There's still time to register, so if you have interest, please contact us. It is still possible to join. And very interesting for you, probably, we are offering a financial support to SMEs, to European SMEs who would like to participate, and we can finance your travel cost with up to 1,500 euros per company. And finally, we offer financial opportunities. It is still in the planning. We will organize a private investment event, and we will also publish a EU financial opportunities guide. So that's it from my side. I think if you want to stay in touch with everything we do, you can subscribe to the newsletter. If it's not already done, it is published only every 6 months, and it just keep up with everything, all the kind of activities we're doing. You can see the QR code here on the left side. But I think the best way to know and to stay up to date is to follow us on social media, on LinkedIn and on Twitter, where we post very regularly on our activities. And of course, my contact details. If you have any question, if you want more information on the actions I mentioned, please contact me. Thank you. And I will copy on going and give the floor to Hanna Dittmeyer from the Afrika, Eastern Africa.
Thank you very much, Louise. Let me share my screen. There it is. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to present myself and the organization quickly. I hope you can all see my screen. Yeah, good, perfect. Yes, so my name is Hanna Dittmeyer, and I am the head of Competence Center Energy, Environment and Sustainable Economy. It is a bit of a long title, but just the Energy and Environment Department at AHK. AHK is the German abbreviation for Chambers of Commerce. And to give you a little bit of an insight, so in Germany, especially smaller and middle-sized companies register with the IHK, so the Inland Chambers of Commerce. And the Inland Chambers of Commerce, of which there are now 79, I believe, and the outside of Germany, Chambers of Commerce, AHKs, are all put together under the DIHK, which is the umbrella organization. Overall, in terms of AHKs, there are 150 locations all around the world in 93 countries, and we have been established since the late 19th century, so quite a long time. Here you can see the setup of the organization. And yes, just to give you a little bit of an idea what an AHK does is that we have a threefold mandate. We represent the German industry and trade. We are also a service provider to companies both German and also in the countries of which we operate. And we form the umbrella organization for German companies who are already operating in the countries of where we are sitting. This is a membership organization then. We offer specific things as Chamber of Commerce. So this is market entry facilitation, so collecting information, helping companies find business partners on the ground. We offer a comprehensive market analysis service, and we also organize fact-finding missions for companies. So for example, if a company comes to us and wants to maybe enter a market, they already may have a specific idea where to go to, then we can offer them a fact-finding mission. So we organize B2B meetings for them and accompany them on the ground. We also do this for business delegations. So several companies come to us and there's a specific topic under which the delegation is then being put forward. And of course, we also do events, trade fairs on the grounds, and engage very heavily with stakeholders of the countries where we're in. Specifically, our AHK, we are responsible for the markets Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And we have a smaller office in Tanzania and Dar es Salaam as well. And we have different departments. So I represent the Competence Center. but we also have our biggest department, which is the services department. We also have a TVET department, especially here in Kenya, focusing on anything in regards to vocational and educational training. And we also have, of course, the regional coordination, who is led by my colleague Carl, who's responsible of the Ethiopian, Rwandan, and Ugandan market. And our competence center, we focus on a lot of different topics, mainly renewable energies, waste management, energy efficiency, environmental technologies, for example, and also water and wastewater. With the specific things with the competence center is that we also have a link to GIZ. So my position is also linked to the Business Scouts for Development program at GIZ, so that the German institutions try to have a steady dialogue going in between what is the economic cooperation part through GIZ and the more commercial interest part through the AHK. So yes, if any matters are that are more on the economic development side, then I can bring that forward in my network that is at GIZ. Our goals as the competence center specifically is to connect East African and German businesses in all topics of renewable energy, water and wastewater, etc. And we, of course, have a strong presence here on the ground. So we have strong networks, are well connected. So we keep up top with all the market developments in the topics that we handle, so that we can also drive discourses and come up with events or projects that fit the market development or any needs that somebody might have put forward to us. And this we do under a technology orientation. Yes, and then some items, some examples of what we did in the past. So last year, we organized an energy trade mission to Ethiopia in the topic of self-supply and energy efficiency in industry. And we also had a water and wastewater training that basically was a job shadowing of Tanzanian and Kenyan water and wastewater experts to Germany to learn about facilities over there. Yes, and just be able to see on the ground and in practice what German technology is doing over there and what could work in their markets. Yes, upcoming missions, if that is of interest for you, this year we have one in self-supply industry and commerce to Kenya and Ethiopia, and energy and efficiency in buildings, Rwanda and Uganda, both towards the end of the year, so one in September and one in November. And this is how you can reach me and my colleagues at the Competence Center. Yes, so just also to say that, of course, we are a knowledge repository. We're here to answer questions and to facilitate market entry. And of course, we are the German Chamber of Commerce, but also other European countries have their chambers of commerce established on the ground in East Africa. So yes, those are good contact points for anything that you need to know. All right, thank you very much. I think that's my presentation. Now, Louise, has Christopher joined already?
It doesn't look like that. At least not in the panelist.
What do you think is, yeah?
Would it be possible to call him again?
Yes, I will quickly call him to make sure that he doesn't have any technical issues. And maybe can somebody else start with their presentation?
Yeah, I would suggest that. Tom, would it be possible for you to keep on going?
Yeah, that's possible.
Great, then we'll switch your presentation with the one from Christopher. So then I give you the floor to tell us more about the water sector status in Kenya. Can you share your screen?
I'm getting there.
Okay, we see your slides.
Yes, I think I'm getting there. Let me go to full screen if I can find it. No.
Probably you have to click down there on the little sliding, I don't know how to say, the one on the right down.
Yeah. Nearly. There we go. How are we doing?
I'm not seeing your slides full screen.
Oh dear. Then we've lost them. Then I've digressed somewhere.
Should I do that for you otherwise?
I think you might be, at this point, it might be quicker because I've gone off in a tangent somewhere.
Right. Let me open it.
And at least I'm no longer, yeah. Okay, while you're doing that, I'll just continue with the narrative. I'm Tom Armstrong. I'm the chairman of the Kenya Water Industry Association, which is, we represent the private sector players in the water sector in Kenya. We have manufacturers and suppliers, traders. We have institutions such as the Kenya Water Institute, our members, consultants, drilling contractors, hydrogeologists, and so forth. It covers all of the players in the water sector, and we have a good association with government, and we're becoming a gazetted body. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Hannah? Please, yeah, thank you. So we're a network. We have a very big part of our activity is training, and we encourage best practices through the training that we do, and we have what's known as codes of conduct. We're very much aware that people don't read anything these days, so unless you can deliver manuals in a sort of a cartoon brief form, these days engineering manuals are no longer, that's very deep if you want to start reading that. Can we move on? We lobby to government for the national policies. We have a number of premier members, and these are people that pay additional subscriptions to support the association. Again, here you're seeing steel manufacturers. We have some very big suppliers like Davis and Shirtliff, who are all over Africa. Ibara is a newcomer, a new pump supplier from Japan, Italy, and it's quite an interesting story as a startup to see how well they've started up. Wilo was a German company that started up in Kenya about maybe 5 years ago, and of course Grundfos is there. We also have two banks who are premier members, the the National Bank of Kenya, and they have specific water programs, so we're somehow linking the finance with the implementation. Next slide, please. We also have, this is a few of the regular members that we have. As I say, there's many drilling companies, but also a lot of pump suppliers. Next slide, please. And so forth. Next slide, please. So I just want to talk briefly about the water sector in Kenya. But let's first of all look at Kenya today. We're the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa and Nigeria are ahead of us. And somehow the economy has been able to sustain growth throughout recent years. It's modest, it's 4 or 5%, but nevertheless it's maintained. We're ranked 21 in Africa for our GDP per capita, and our average age is the same as what it is for the rest of Africa, which is 19.5 years. That is the average age for sub-Saharan Africa. It gives you some bizarre figures, such as 40% of our population is under the age of 14. We have a new president recently taken office, and he's committed to the water sector. We had a 2030 vision, which imagined that we were going to get water and electricity into every house by 2030. This is now 7 years to go. It's reckoned that about 70% of our population has access to water, ready access to water. And the president has bravely brought forward the target of 2030 to 2027, which is just happens to coincide with the his re-election year. There is very little public-private partnership in the water sector, unlike in roads, unlike in power. However, the legislation is being tweaked to change to enable more private partnership in the water sector. And particularly the new president is very keen for people to provide water to your neighbors, to make much wider access of water, and also inviting investors to come in to bridge the gap that they have in funding, which is very large. And of course the gap is even larger now. They brought the date forward from 2030 to 27. Anyway, despite the general economic gloom throughout the world, I can say that the future seems bright for Kenya, and that it's partly because we're we take such a lead in East Africa as a whole, and there are a lot of problems in our neighboring countries, but somehow Kenya seems to be able to still produce economic growth. Moving, next slide, please. So, can you move on? Okay, so Kenya's 81% green generation of power, geothermal, hydro, wind and solar. It would be more than that. We limit our wind power because we have to run the contracts, existing contracts that we have with the diesel generation. However, the cost of electricity in Kenya is very, very high. We're the third highest in Africa. And this has really prompted the solarization of pumping, both for the big pumpers who are pumping 24 hours a day. It's very economic to have your pumping solar powered for 5.5 hours. And it's around about a 6-year investment recovery on the power that replaced by solar. Throughout the country, I have to say, as a general case, the efficiency of pumping can be much improved. And amazingly, the cost of putting in new pumps is very quickly recouped from the reduced power consumption. More efficiency, less money being paid per cubic meter. We have 89 water service providers. These are the larger, usually parastatal, maybe locally owned by the counties. These are water companies who provide water into the urban areas, which is over 50% of our population is urban. And but none of those 89 have enough water to meet the demand. The city of Nakuru, which is the 4th largest city or the 4th largest urban center in Kenya, produces about 45% of its demand at this point. Our water distribution systems are old. They need replacement. There's a lot of investment needed in the distribution side. And we have very high non-revenue waters throughout our WSPs. However, it is improving. Year by year, you can see the percentages of NRV, non-revenue water, is going down. We have a big problem throughout the water sector in the context of digitization. This is really lagging behind, and it's the design of systems, the input of information, the input of data. In generally speaking, we're not up to speed with the modern technologies and digitized information, particularly for groundwater. Next slide, please. We have smart meters, or smart enabled meters are available, but there's little actual enabling of the smartness. In other words, we have smart meters, but we're not actually reading them, or not actually utilizing the information digitally. However, there has been on all our production water meters, on all water pumps for surface water or boreholes, must be smart enabled, actually active by next year. There's a bit of a hole in the market at this point in that area. As I say, there are limited PPPs in the water sector, very few. But bulk supply, to provide water directly into the WSP, is a very suitable way for PPP to participate in increasing the supplies into the cities. It's convenient because it's you have one point at which the billing and payment is made, and that's at the water meter at the point of supply. To increase the groundwater supply, we're very dependent on groundwater in Kenya. We do not have a lot of big rivers. The few rivers and surface flows that there are, it may be supplying something like 20% of our needs, but mostly we're groundwater orientated. We're less than 20% into our renewable abstraction quantities, and on the amount of groundwater that's available in the country. But it's the identification of these high-yielding aquifers. There needs to be some really quite intense studies to. The high-yielding aquifers, of course, have to have high transmissivity. You have to be able to get the water into the hole that you're pumping out from. But there's a big area that's we need to do some more remote sensing to identify big aquifers, both for public supply and for irrigation. Then with the increasing amounts that we aim to get into the cities, of course, sewage and sewage treatment has to match it. And this, as ever in many countries, is lagging behind. And there's a big market for on-site treatment, apartment blocks, package plants, package sewage plants for apartment blocks. There's also remains in Kenya for many years, but there's potential for deep drilling to access deep aquifers, which are they're there in Turkana, and they're also on the coast. There's the sign of deep aquifer. Next slide, please. So we had about, in the early 90s, there were about 20 rigs. We've now got several hundred. As I mentioned before, the access to safe groundwater abstraction is about 18% of our total resource. But the amount of boreholes that we're drilling is very high, and you can reckon on 50% of the boreholes have been drilled in this century, and it's increasing by about 0.5% a year. That's a growth of the number of boreholes. However, in Kenya, drilling is too cheap. There's too many rigs, and to be able to compete, a lot of shortcuts are taken. So casings are not to specification, the gravel is not to specification, the drilling rates, the development, there's so many shortcuts that are taken. So we do not I'm very critical of the quality of the assets that we're creating in Kenya. There's a lot of unregulated drilling, people that don't want to go through the process of the authorizations. So these boreholes are unrecorded, and also there's unreported abstraction coming. There are pockets of over abstraction, particularly in the Karen area of Nairobi. Groundwater mining is evident, but there's also areas where there's a lot of high irrigation that also is pulling down the water table. We have to have good groundwater governance to be able to support our water resources. And again, I'm emphasizing that the digitization of the groundwater sector is what's going to help improve governance. Next slide, please. I'm highlighting groundwater because I am a driller and it's a big concern of mine. Kewi has a project. We want to establish what's known as a good groundwater governance support unit, technical support unit, so that we can enable government to actually do what it suggests, what it should be doing. Kewi did in 6 years ago now, a pilot project for 3,000 boreholes to digitize the information, and we got it on the internet as an open source, open access. This needs to be taken up by government to do the job properly on all boreholes. And we should also put transponders on rigs so that their locations and activities can be monitored. Next slide, please. So thank you, everybody. I think that's a little insight into the Kenyan water sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom, for this a lot of information, a lot of interesting information. And I think everybody could get a really good overview of the needs in Kenya and all the potential for companies from Europe. Thanks. So I saw that Christopher succeeded to come in as a speaker. Do you hear me, Christopher?
Yes, thank you. I can hear you very well, Louise. I must say I'm so sorry for being able to connect, but now I'm in. I'm really glad to have you. I was listening as a participant, not as a presenter. Now it's fine. Thank you so much. Okay, I start straight away. I would like to give a quick overview. I hope I'm being heard properly. So a quick overview of the water sector in Uganda, looking at potentials and the structure of water supply services and sanitation in Uganda. So I'm Christopher Kanyesigye, and I'm the manager for research and development in National Water and Sewerage Corporation. So are you scrolling for me, or I do that?
Yes, I am. So just indicate when you need the next slide.
Yes, okay, I'll be notifying you. So thank you. So water supply and sanitation services in Uganda are under the mandate of the Ministry of Water and Environment. And so it's the agency responsible for policy and planning on water resources, water supply, and environmental management. So water is so much linked to the environment, of course, because water comes from the environment, be it rain, be it surface or groundwater. And so the ministry is responsible for all those resources. Under the ministry, we have 4 directorates. So the first directorate specifically deals with water resources management. That's the Directorate Water Resources Management. And here, their mandate is basically for planning and regulation of water resources, water quality management in the whole country, and also international transboundary water affairs. In Uganda, of course, we share our water resources with our neighbor countries, that is East African countries, and as far as basically like Lake Victoria, as you may know. And then, of course, we have River Nile, the longest river in the world, originates from East Africa. And so we have the Nile Basin Initiative. And so water resources and transboundary water affairs are all under the Ministry of Water and Environment. Also, concerning water supply, we have a Directorate of Water Development, which is responsible for water supply and sanitation capacity development and support to local governments. And in local governments, we have private water operators which are hired to provide services. And so all these are coordinated by that Directorate of Water Development. Under the ministry, like I said, also, we have the Directorate of Environmental Affairs, which is responsible for policy, for regulation, coordination, inspection, and general supervision and monitoring of environment and natural resources, and also restoration of degraded ecosystems, and also mitigation and adapting to climate change. We have issues of climate change in this country, similar to the rest of the region and the world. And so issues to do with mitigation and adaptation to climate change are controlled under the Ministry, Directorate of Environment. We also have a new Directorate of National Meteorological Authority, which is semi-autonomous, and it is responsible for weather and climate services, and also is the focal institution or focal agency for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. New slide, please. And then directly under the Ministry of Water and Environment are parastatal autonomous organizations. These are 3 in number, but we also have an umbrella organization for water sanitation NGOs. So the first parastatal under the ministry is the National Water and Sewerage Corporation, where I work. And it is the agency responsible for water and sanitation in all the urban centers, the urban areas of this country. And then we have the agency, National Water and National Environment Management Authority. It is the agency responsible for policy and all environmental matters in this country. And then we have similarly the agency responsible for forestry resources. That is the National Forest Authority, NFA, responsible for managing central forest reserves on a sustainable basis and to supply high quality forestry related products and services to the government. And particularly the agency promotes development of tree plantations in degraded areas because of anthropogenic or people and general environmental challenges that lead to degradation of some areas. Like I said, we have an umbrella body for all non-governmental work. That is the Uganda Water and Sanitation Network, USNet. And so this is the body that coordinates all water NGOs in Uganda, coordinates all civil society organizations, including social enterprises, development programs, the private sector, and in the water and environment sector. So this body helps the government to realize its targets of alleviating poverty and achieving sustainable development goals, and particularly target number 6, which is about water for all. Next slide, please. Now, concerning investment facilitation in this country, we have a one-stop center, and that is the Uganda Investment Authority. And so this is a semi-autonomous government body responsible for investment promotion and facilitation in this country. So if you want to do business or investment in water in be it trade, be it land resources, be it any goods, then you have to first register with the Uganda Investment Authority. And here you'll find all information regarding investment in this country, which is really, really very important. Next slide, please. Now, concerning National Water and Sewerage Corporation, where I work, the specific areas of investment or collaboration which we think we need to bring to your notice. The first one is the need for increased sewerage services that include adoption of new technologies, such as use of packaged systems, simplified sewerage networks, upscaling of fecal sludge treatment capacity and management, sanitation safety planning, self-financing of sanitation services. So these are areas where, as an organization, we feel we need partnership with external partners or experts. Similarly, we are interested in ensuring 100% water coverage in all the urban centers of Uganda. So the need for increased access through enhanced water infrastructure that includes groundwater development, bulk water supply from one region to another, implementation of service coverage, acceleration project, because we find that even within an urban center, there are pockets of people that may not get 24-hour supply of sewage, or rather of water supply. And so we need to have collaboration to be able to improve. We have a plan or a model called the village model, where we want to make sure that every village has access to water for every individual, irrespective of status. There are a number of disadvantaged people and families which usually take water from poor sources that is not safe, and so would like partnership to be able to supply safe drinking water for and also for domestic use to everybody. Lastly, in the area of urban poor or informal settlements, there's need for an enhanced pro-poor service operations and management. This can include mapping of pro-poor areas, establishment of databases, and also for metering of water supply services. Next slide, please. Yes, just some hints or some points of challenges I've had some colleagues from abroad into Uganda talking about as challenges, and then I propose in the red color what can be done to resolve those challenges. The first one is access to information. That's a general challenge, even for some of us who are already in Uganda here, who work within the country. So it's very important to plan what you want and visit the right office. It's a general idea, but it can actually help. Yeah, once you have addresses of government agencies, of parastatal autonomous organizations, then you plan and visit the different departments and you can get information. Registration of new investments, like I said earlier, we have a one-stop center, the Uganda under the Uganda Investment Authority, which you can get all the information regarding business, investment, trade, whatever it may be called. Then, in case your investment or your business requires land for fixing your investment, then you need to get help still from the Uganda Investment Authority. Then they will help you to be able to go to the lands authorities, to the district land boards. All that is required can be done at the one-stop center. Obtaining raw materials, be it imported or local, you have to search the service provider most of these are on the websites. Then obtaining hired labor, because in most cases you need local staff or local labor to be able to do the investment you want. Then you get help from still the Uganda Investment Authority and the Ministry of Labor, who are responsible for labor affairs. Then for sustainable market for goods and services, which is a challenge, I know. It cuts across all investments. Then you have to access the line ministries concerning those goods and services and be able to get the right individuals, desk officers, be able to get help. As far as lastly, communication and transport is concerned in Uganda and in the East African region, then still there are a number of higher service providers who have websites that you can get from the Uganda Investment Authority and the general information centers in this country. And I think that's what I had for this basic presentation, and I'm available for any information that I can provide to anybody. I want to speak in Swahili lastly by saying asante sana, which means thank you very much, and karibuni, you are all welcome to Uganda, which is the power of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christopher, for the detailed presentation. Thanks. Yeah. So we'll keep on moving, and the next speaker was planned to be Leonard Makomba from Makoka, if I pronounce it right, from the Kenyan Water Institute. But it cannot be here today, so Virginia told me that she would replace him. Is she here today? Can she hear us? It doesn't seem like. All right. Oh, she just sent me her presentation. Maybe she's in the participant part and not in the speaker group. Okay, I will try to find that out. And I would say in the meantime, we can keep on going with Hamed Beheshti, if he's here. Hi, Hamed.
Sure. Hello. Good
Welcome.
day to you. Good morning to you, and good probably afternoon to our East African colleagues. So good. So
Floor is yours. Do you want me? Do you have your presentation?
Thank you. Yes, I do have it. Please just give me a thumb up if you see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. So once again, good day to everybody. I'm just presenting things. I'm humble that it was titled as a best practice. We are still in April, and it was exactly April 2017 for the first time my feet touched the soil of Africa. So it's just interesting, you know, match for us to present in such so-called relatively short period something that to some extent may be called a good, let's say, best practice or something to learn from. So what we started as a mission, I can just describe it in these 4 words, where sun meets water. And we started it in East Africa. And the mission we started, the mission we initiated was to tackle this green canister in the bucket, where 1,000 liters of this non-reliable, unsafe, so-called drinking water goes for $10, and it's a normal scenario. It may easily go up to $60 when there is a drought or high distance for water or water trucking. So it's easily that goes much higher. And at the meantime, remember, we are not speaking about hygiene drinking water. Water that is raw water, and always we see contamination. Easiest contamination is bacteria, viruses, and the most difficult one comes after that to mineral contaminations. And the other challenge we tackled in East Africa was the salt intrusion into boreholes. Many farmers, when you speak to them, they are speaking that or grandfather or father, even ourselves, we were doing farming with a good borehole, good quality water from that borehole, and now that turned to saline. You see the accumulation of salt in this picture for the part that was irrigated. This is the challenge that is killing many farming sectors, especially in East Africa, if we say part of Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, less toward Ugandan side, less contamination, mineral contamination we have on that side, Rwanda, Uganda, but it's more toward Kenya, Tanzania, Somalia. This is very, very common challenge for farming sector. So we came up with our solution as a solar water desalination system with 3 characteristics. One, having a direct drive solar desalination system, no battery needed, nothing as a buffer needed. Second, having it a simple solution. Having a complex solution is very easy. Having a simple solution is a challenge. And then having it affordable. When we speak about affordability, producing 1,000 liter of hygiene drinking water. Imagine in a city like Mombasa, you have direct seawater in front of you, you have our machine, and then you have a glass of water for the most hygiene drinking water. For 1,000 liter of it, maximum production cost is 50 cents. 50 cents the production cost for 1,000 liter. And then when it comes to the maintenance, 80% of the regular maintenance and everything needed to run a machine, you just need these 2 tools, a wrench and a screwdriver. It wasn't possible to bring a machine to remote part of East Africa, Central Africa, West Africa, and then expecting that the locals deal with the super complicated machines. It should have been simple, as which turned to be one of our key identity. And then it's not just simplicity of a wrench and a screwdriver. We are reading the machines. There are 36 details and sensors of the machine that we read them from Berlin. So we can read them, we can update the machines from Berlin, the software and anything needed. We can really work with the operators when the machine is in deep deserts of Somalia, is in deep forests of Tanzania and Kenya. We can read the machines from Berlin and order and diagnose the challenges there. And then when we consider the technology is one thing, what is important is the business model you create from that technology. Otherwise, the world is overflow with the technology all over. So for that specific market of East Africa, we chose 2 models of beyond technology work. One is a circular economy and social business, that in practice, it comes to this layout that we get water from whatever source. People like what several of the members of what Tom was presenting. So we are working with them when they are digging boreholes and the borehole turned to be saline, like Great Rift Valley. If it's not just the work of the coast, I'm not speaking just about Mombasa, I'm not just speaking about Malindi, I'm not just speaking about Mogadishu or Dar es Salaam. I'm speaking to much interior side, 600 kilometers from the ocean. Great Rift Valley, you have plenty of boreholes, are not just saline, but they are contaminated with fluoride. This is where you see the teeth of people orangish or reddish. This is the effects of fluoride. So this is just to say that most of the time we get water from those boreholes, having pre-filtration, post-filtration and on a desalination side, getting the solid particles out and the minerals out, and all powered by solar. And this is what I said, the business side of it. So here is the technology, here is the business model. So our entity in East Africa is called Water Kiosk Africa. So it delivers drinking water. Then we do irrigation on regular freshwater crops, and then we do fish farming from wastewater of the machine. This is part of the circular economy side of it. Or the fish can easily grow into wastewater, not necessarily need to be freshwater, and then doing saline water farming, algae that can grow in the wastewater of the machine. At the meantime, for sure, such a setup reduces the carbon emission by high. So when you eliminate water boiling, when you eliminate water trucking, when you eliminate diesel burning to run a desalination, you simply easily, on a small units of us, we have 300 tons of carbon credit generation per year. Already we sold carbon credit of 41 of our systems in Kenya. This is a very good record of us. And now in East Africa, we are going for another 300 project, 300 systems to sell their carbon credit. I would really recommend for those of you in this program today, if you want to be in the water sector, as Tom was mentioning about solar water pumping system, there is a huge capacity of benefiting from carbon credit in this region. It's still, East Africa is one of the places when it comes to water, solar, and there is an interest by financiers to buy your carbon credit when you merge water with the renewables. We are a clear testimony to show that it works. We've done it and we are now scaling it up, and others can also easily, not easily, but with a bit of profession can benefit from it. This is our current presence. So we started our work, as I said, 2017 in Nairobi, when my feet touched the soil of Africa. Since then, this is the record you see globally. Oh, sorry. And then Nairobi is the office that is now covering all activities from Somaliland down to Madagascar. So whatever happening in this part is supported by Nairobi. And then the rest of the places that now, even Australia that we are, it's all from the learnings we had in East Africa. So it's a good place for learnings, let's say. And we are happy that at this challenge of Europe now in 2022, 2023, our systems with the same setup reached also to Ukraine to be part of the solution there. So why I say East Africa is such important for us, and especially Nairobi, because of the facility we built in Nairobi. This is our assembly hall in Nairobi, not just manufacturing in Berlin, but having our assembly hall in Nairobi. Some of those brands and names that Tom was presenting in his presentation, they already have part of their stock in our assembly hall in Nairobi. So when you come there, you see several of the famous European German brands having part of our assembly hall because of the service we are delivering them. Just showing you a bit of pictures and finishing my words. So this is a 45-minute drive from Dar es Salaam, Kibaha. And this is a huge campus, several thousand people are living there, from orphanage to school to a big hospital campus. This is a big hospital campus here, all powered by the solar panels you see here. Actually, not powered, all received water from the solar panels that we installed here, and the machine is here. The entire campus for a few thousand people receives this electricity for the water treatments from just this array and the machine installed here. Or this one, according to Ministry of Water in Kenya, we are selling the most affordable and the cheapest hygiene drinking water in the country. 20 liters of hygiene drinking water, we are selling it for 10 shilling. So when you consider this is the hygiene processed drinking water, it's not just raw water. This is the cheapest processed hygiene drinking water there. And then when it comes to simplicity, look at the faces of these operators, these three. These are the ones that they are, this project is at the tip of Nungwi in Zanzibar. So it's tip of Ungoja Island, and these three are the ones receive the training. School, they are school students. If the system was not simple, you couldn't have such young people coming and being an operator. You should just have, engineers having it. So it's a trick. If you want to bring industry there, it should be simple and the process should be simple. And then adding the productive use of renewables into the work. If we are speaking about renewables, if some of you are more from the renewable energy side, productive use of renewables is an important recommendation for this market, where we added this, where this is our vertical farm, beautiful vertical farm that is powered by the same solar energy, that is running a desalination system, that is running a water pump system. And the fish farm that I showed you in that graph, so all the wastewater used in this tank is growing thousands of fish in a 200 cubic meter fish tank that is receiving again it's water from the wastewater of the machine, and there is no end for it. The more you go, the bigger applications you may face with. This is in Zanzibar again. This is the biggest hospital for 1.7 million people. You see it's right by the ocean and receiving water again from all machines. This is a distribution of just health sectors and hospitals in East Africa where our machines are installed. Again, as I mentioned, it's not just the issue of the coast. Look at the concentration of the hospitals here. Look at the concentration of the hospitals there. So desalination and treating minerals is not just a coastal issue. During the pandemic, corona pandemic, we installed all systems in 29 hospitals, delivering over 1 million liters per day to hospitals, and 6 million patients a year, when they visit the hospitals, receive water from this system, from these facilities. And that one generated 10,000 tons of CO2 offset annually, just with 450 kilowatt solar panel, and 52 direct jobs created. This is another picture of that Zanzibar stone town. So I would say that from our story, from our practice, I would see that in East Africa, if not in all sub-Saharan Africa, we have a decentralized challenge. This decentralized challenge should be first recognized and second respected in order to bring a solution to it. And the solution, we believe, is when the challenge is decentralized, you cannot bring a centralized solution for a decentralized challenge. It should be an integrated decentralized solution. So this is, if I want to say, I would have one word for you, one sentence for you to take with you is, in this market, the challenge is decentralized and the solution should be also decentralized, with one condition: to be integrated, not just to be extremely island solutions, an integrated decentralized solution. And this is just a bit of our records in different markets. And if there is anything extra somebody would like to know, I'm both available after this talk, and also you have my contacts, company contacts, Nairobi office contacts, and you can reach us. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Hamid. That's a great example of a success story in Eastern Africa. All right, then we'll finish with our last speaker, which is Virginia Nanetia. I hope I pronounced it right. If you like, I will share your presentation. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. I'm ready.
All right, I am sharing. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So, welcome. My name is Virginia Nanetia from the Kenya Water Institute in Kenya. We are based in Nairobi. I'm presenting this on behalf of the Deputy Director in charge of consultancy and research, who just had to attend an emergency meeting with the ministry. So Kenya Water Institute is under the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. So our motto is the fountain of water knowledge. Next. So before I go to the mandate of the Kenya Water Institute, we have 4 campuses. The main campus is in Nairobi. The other one is in Kisumu City in Nairobi, in Kenya. Then we have another one in Chakariga, and the last one is in Kitui County. So that is the distribution of our campuses. We offer training, both long-term and short-term training. So for long-term training, we engage students, young students from high school. So they come, they take a course, a diploma course. So we are under TVET, so they take a diploma course, a certificate course, and artisan courses. So for short term, this is where we engage the industry people. So people who want to improve, to learn new technologies, capacity build. So that is where now we engage them in short-term courses. So people, companies all over the water industry and other affiliated industry that want to gain insights or knowledge on water. So they come to the Kenya Water Institute and we offer them this training. So our mandate is to develop the human resource for the whole of the water sector. Secondly, we offer research, consultancy, and outreach for the water sector. We conduct seminars and workshops and train about anything affiliated to water. Then we also offer forums for effective public and private sector collaboration. So under the Ministry of Water, we form, it's like the pivot point where if you want to engage with the sector people, since training cuts across, so a training institute is the best way to reach out to everybody in the sector. So that is how the ministry works. And also we do examine and present awards. So we award our students with certificates after they go through the course and training. We also offer, for the short courses, we also offer certificates. Next. So our mission is to be a technical center of excellence in training, research, and innovation consultancy in the water and irrigation sector. So the Ministry of Water in Kenya has both a Directorate of Water and Sanitation and also the irrigation sector. So our vision is to offer a competency-based training, research, innovation, consultancy, and outreach services in the water and sanitation and irrigation sectors. Next. So from that, basically you've seen that our core mandate is offering training. So basically that is the most, the core. Then from training now stems out research. So we also offer research on areas around the water sector, so that the research that we do mostly informs the policy making in the industry and especially in the ministry. So if the ministry have something that they want to do, frameworks, policy, they do it through the Kenya Water Institute. And then on consultancy, also, if you go to the ministry and you need consultancy on water, it is done through the Kenya Water Institute. Mostly we specialize on boreholes. So we have a rig that drills boreholes. We offer consultancy in terms of renewable energy, the cost of abstraction, using pumps. Since we are the people, we can say that we have the technology and we give the training, we can also offer consultancy in all the areas that we train in. So there are some challenges here that as an institute we have identified. As you have also seen from the mandate, we are mandated to do innovations. So we can also offer solutions to some of the problems that we have in the industry. And some of the solutions that we can offer, apart from capacity, which is what we do, we can also offer solutions in terms of dissemination of technology. Now that in this forum, we have industries that want to bring in new technology, new solutions to the Kenyan water sector. Kenya Water can offer a linkage to do that. So we have that avenue, we are already established, so we can also facilitate you coming in and getting into the water industry. So we have some of the challenges here. If a member of the consortium or the companies has a solution to it, can also look into it, and then we can work together and see how now we can solve the solution. Solve the problem by offering an innovative solution or a new technology or whatever it is. If you also have an input in terms of regulations or policy, an input that you think can help or improve the water sector, Kenya Water is an avenue that will enable you to easily reach the sector players and the ministry, which is the government. So these are some of the challenges that we thought we could bring up in this forum. So the construction industry needs to be supplied with qualified plumbers and pipe fitters. So if you have a new technology that can be disseminated to the plumbers and pipe fitters in terms of an artifact or a new knowledge, a new way of doing things, so we are the people to work with. So on matters on climate change, so we really want to adopt smart agriculture and other technologies that will help the Kenyan farmers better use water or do better in irrigation and water management areas. So currently the water supply coverage, according to WASREB, is 57%. So we really need to improve that, at least because we have the SDG 6 that we have to catch up with in the Vision 2030 as a country, and we have targets. And most of those targets are on improving the water supply and sanitation coverage. Then we have a prevalent problem, the non-revenue. This is a national challenge with more than 45% of the supplied water not being accounted for. This is from the WASREB report. So if you have solutions and innovations, for example, that can tackle the non-revenue water problem, it is really welcome. So we have the population connected to sewer currently from the WASREB report is 15%. So on matters connection to sanitation, wash, that is a challenge that needs innovation and solutions. So the current unemployment rate in the youth stands at 39%. So when we bring in technology and innovations, they will come in as a form of employment, and this will offer jobs to these youth and the Kenyan population. So another challenge in the water sector also is the environmental degradation, which is getting higher and higher. Remember, water is part of the environment. So if we can, while we are tackling the general environmental degradation, we have to take care of water as it is part of the environment. So this is a challenge that also needs to be looked into. Then there is the inadequate water conservation measures. So if there's any technology on water conservation measures or around that area, that is one of the major challenges currently the water sector and the ministry are really looking into. Next slide. So here, generally, these are just the courses offered. So if you have, if you need training in terms of the technology which we have diploma students, certificate and artisans, which I've already mentioned. Next. Then these are the short-term courses that we offer. We have, the reason why we put up the short-term courses that we have is because this is now from the industry. This is where there is a gap in terms of training. So, you know, training is continuous. So today you do training on non-revenue water management, for example, then a new technology comes in or a new equipment or whatever it is. So before we take it now, disseminate it to the population in the water sector, we need to do a bit of training to the staff so that we can acquaint them with the new technology. We capacity build on how they probably do the installation, operation, and maintenances. So that is basically what the short-term courses offer. So if we have in the consortium now, we have a company or an institution that is bringing in a new technology. So you will come into the water sector. So you just come, partner with the Kenya Water Institute. We help you disseminate the technology. We will help you train the users in operation, maintenance, and such kind of things because we have the capacity. So those are the short-term courses that we can train. So if there's any technology or innovation around that area, it can be taken care of in non-revenue, water management, metering, installation of water supply networks, leak detection and repair techniques, operation and maintenance of water supply networks. Then we have pump selection, installation and maintenance, plumbing, pipe fitting, and solar heating. Then the instrumentation for water and wastewater systems. We also do water governance, management, and technology. Then there is the use of Earth observation tools and water resource management. Then we have a drilling course. Then there is water quality, sampling and testing. Then there is microbiological water quality assessment. Then there is integrated water resource management, entrepreneurship and financial management for water managers, and application of GIS for water utilities. So those are currently the short-term courses that are ongoing, but the new technologies that come in, or if the user, the person who's disseminating the technology or the person who has procured a new technology would like capacity building for their staff, they always come. We give them, they give us what they want, then we custom make a course for them. So it's a very open area. Next slide, please. So that is the end of my presentation. So I will just conclude on behalf of Kenya Water to welcome anybody with a solution to tackle some, but not limited to the challenges that we just put up there. So you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Thank you for representing Leonard today. I'd like maybe to say about the Kenya Water Institute, we did with EU Water ISD exploratory mission to Kenya last year. And we had the pleasure of visiting the East Africa Water Summit, which was organized by Kewi Africa, and it took place at the Kenya Water Institute. And yeah, I really had the feeling that the institute is really connecting the water sector in Kenya. So that was a lot of good information. We really liked it.
So thank you. Let me also mention that at the end of the 5th month, May, we have Water Quality Symposium on 25th and 26th. So I would like to welcome you. We will have almost all water sector players coming in and discussing matters water quality, where we are, where we want to go, what are the challenges. So we will have all the water sector players coming into a forum. So that is a very good platform. If any of the people in here or somewhere else are interested on matters water, you will find all the important people, the management and everybody there. So you can come and network. You can also do an exhibition. So we will have an exhibition. So if you have a solution, for example, the person who's just presented before me. So we have slots for exhibition. They are still open. People are still coming in. So you can exhibit your technology, and it's an easier way reaching now into the core of the water sector. So you are all welcome to the Water Quality Symposium at the Kenya Water Institute on 26th and 27th of May. For any communication, you can contact the host who will, just come to us, and then we will host you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have 10 minutes left for the questions. There is already some of them. There's one for Tom Armstrong. You mentioned that PPPs are encouraged by the Ministry of Water, but in reality, very few PPP projects have been concluded in the water sector. What are the real reasons of such gap?
Yeah, thank you. The investors' profile. I mean, the investment is very risky when you're investing in, say, an existing water supply system, which you're not going, as an investor, you're not going to own that asset. It's when it's in function, in control. It's quite a complex area, and many of the doing the financial reviews of the to get the returns is also it's quite difficult to qualify and assess and evaluate the risk. However, let me say that when it comes down to bulk water, that's kind of a different story, because you're developing a new source, a new asset, which remains within the control of the private investor, and then the water sales are at one point. It's more conducive to PPP. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there other question? Please don't hesitate to write them in the chat or in the Q&A. I saw that one was already answered. It was a question for Christopher. You presented the village model. It is written, are you looking for a kiosk type of water supply? People still have to go to the kiosk to fetch water. Or are you looking for individual water connections so that people can enjoy running water at home? And he answered already, it's written, you can read it, not individual house connection, but it can be a communal standpipe of a gravity source, of a borehole source, preferably managed by a nominated village member for basic maintenance. This has worked for many rural villages with improved quality and sustainable supply.
I mean, if I'm also allowed to ask a question?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's for Tom, because Tom, you mentioned that drones would be a good technology for monitoring or for managing water resources and analyzing aquifers. Kenya, however, is quite strict in the use of drones. Do you know of any drone projects active in that sector already, or has it so far not gone through?
It's a good question. I'm not familiar. There is a restrictive atmosphere, let us say, over the use of drones. The use of drones up to a certain size is permitted. Many farmers can work within the limitations that are there for monitoring of their crops. I'm not actually familiar with the technologies that can be used, but my main focus is to identify remotely potential for big aquifers. We're lacking database information here about aquifers in Kenya, but most boreholes are not being drilled for high yield. They're just being drilled for lesser purposes. But we need to access this water, the water of ours, on a much bigger scale. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Any more questions?
And maybe in the meantime, when people are thinking of good questions to ask, hi everyone, I'm Thelma Palissère from François Team, a partner of the project. I was just wondering, because you mentioned the importance of having local labor in Uganda, I was wondering if it's the same thing in Kenya, and if you would say it's a crucial step for an SME to export in Eastern Africa to have and hire local labor.
Is the question targeted, or?
It's pretty much to anyone who has experience in the subject.
Maybe Ahmed could say something about it.
I think one person wanted to say something, I heard. So, anyone? So if you just then repeat the question, that would be great. But I don't think that one would be relevant to me.
So the question was, would you say for an European SME that wants to export in Eastern Africa, is it crucial to have local labor, have someone on site?
A local person.
Yeah, have a local person on site.
It would have a huge impact. At the meantime, is a huge challenge. So it's both for sure. But the main purpose behind it and the main recommendation to go for it is to ease the access to the market and to make a better connection with people. It's a way different than when something happens or when you want to do a project, you keep sending people, let's say from Europe to Africa. Rather, the very local ones, they would be the one doing it the way that it would be acceptable, it would be practical, it would be rational in that market. So that was the reason we did a huge risk and at the meantime a huge investment to go for that assembly hall in Nairobi. But it's not just the last one. Now we are planning for the West Africa one for Morocco. So with the same concept, same reason. If it wasn't rational enough, if it wasn't making business ones, convincing, then we wouldn't go for the second one for Morocco. So again, it's a big yes with an understanding of its challenges. Imagine if I want to send a machine, sorry, if I want to send a machine from Berlin without having any facility there, it takes like from the order to the time that the machine releases and shipments and releases from the custom, it's like 2.5, 3 months. But when you have an assembly hall there, then this time would go down to 1 week probably. Oh, sorry, Lisa. Oh.
No problem. I was wondering, so you've been showing us what worked very well for your company in Kenya. And so I was wondering if you would be willing to share what maybe didn't work that much and you wouldn't recommend when exporting to Kenya or establishing in Kenya.
What didn't work? Actually, if there was something that was really not working, then we weren't the where that we are standing today. So for whatever things that was not working, we try to have, you know, a solution. But the point that I can say the most difficult point was the local culture. That was the one that we didn't have any, you know, let's say talent to change the local culture or the capacity. In some places we were hiring an operator for a machine and the villager would say, oh, that is a cursed family, that is a cursed tribe, you should not work with them. If they touch water, the water is not pure. No, it was a huge challenge. Or sometimes they tell us, no, we don't want a good water, we are drinking it for generations. And we were telling them, okay, no problem, you were drinking for generation. When was the last person died in your village out of kidney? Said, oh, last week a person passed away because of a kidney problem. Said, that problem actually was from water. When was the last time that you had an eye problem because of some worms in your eyes? Oh, it was just a few months ago. So you see, they don't know that these waterborne diseases and the challenges. So that local culture is the one that I think, if I want to name one, would be that one. And then the tax system for water in Kenya. Actually, I was expecting somebody raises this today more, but the tax system for water in Kenya is one of the most sophisticated one. So those who want to invest in water sector in Kenya, actually, I just told privately to Mr. Ruto when he visited Berlin exactly a month ago. I told him, look, we've proven that everything can work in Kenya. The single thing is now telling us, look, you may think twice going to Kenya is your KRA, the tax system. It's imagine me I mentioned to you about the cheapest hygiene drinking water in Kenya. KRA asked me to pay the same tax that Coca-Cola is paying for a bottle, like 50 times more expensive than us, 50 times, and we should pay the same tax. Where in the world you can have this one? So even Mr. Ruto was very surprised. So I'm meeting him again in May to go to the further discussion on that. But I believe the Kenya water sector, especially on the water distribution side of refill sector, is suffering a lot from KRA double taxations. And if that one is solved, Kenya, East Africa in general has a huge capacity to develop much better quality water delivery to people at a lower price.
Thank you. So there's another question from Arno Brunel for you, Hamid. It's you mentioned that you sold carbon credits to finance your project. Could you share what was the process, time, and budget to get your carbon credit methodology certified? How much of your project was financed by selling carbon offsets?
I cannot say how much of project was financed by carbon offset because it was just an additional income. It was just an additional income. The project was not calculated based on that income because it's, as the question was also clear, it takes time. It's not overnight that you may have it. The methodology that we use the current methodologies available in the market. So we use the methodology for water transportation and water boiling of gold standard. It's not the most ideal one, but it was the one available. We are now planning to have another methodology from our side. It cost us like 86,000 euro to have the methodology from our side, but it's absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. So far, up and I don't have an update in the past 6 months, but when we were doing all our work, there wasn't a methodology for this specific sector because you have elimination of diesel, you have water trucking, you have water boiling. There are many elements engaged. So either you need to develop your methodology yourself, itself that is a bit costly, but absolutely business-wise it worth, or using some of the methodologies available. In terms of the time frame, it takes like easily like 1.5 years if everything is ready, but then it's the first time probably takes 1.5 years. When you do it, then regularly it goes ahead. But what is important for the carbon credit is you cannot have small projects applied for carbon credit unless they are in a cluster. They should be in a cluster. So we, as I mentioned, we put 41 of our projects in one cluster. You can make it like a regional cluster, or you have a very big project. So the threshold that the market would be interested about your project, you should think of 10 to 11,000 tons per year of carbon offset. This is a figure, this is a golden figure that then the market could be interested about your figure. Anything below that, the cost would be such high that may not justify investing into your project.
Thank you. All right, I could keep on asking questions, but we're already over time. So if there is no more question from the participants, I think we're going to be able to conclude our session. I have two last points. The first one is that we have a satisfaction survey. So if you're willing to insert it, it takes like 2 minutes, and it would be of a great help for us to plan better webinars in the future. And I just send it in the chat, the link, and I will send it again by mail. And then the last point is it would be great to have a group picture of the speakers. So if you could all turn on your camera, we could take some screenshots. Virginia, Tom, are you here?
I am here, but I haven't resolved the camera.
True. That's a shame.
Yeah,
we'll see your name.
We'll figure it out.
All right, then smile. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Special thanks to our speakers. I hope the participant could get great insights from the webinar. And for all the ones who were interested, there will be the next one on the 17th of May on Latin American countries. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good time. Bye-bye.
Bye.